Hi, and welcome to this week's Q&A. It is April the 24th. Let me see if there are any questions. I haven't seen any today. I see myself. I am on here. Yeah, so I don't see any questions. So I thought I would just talk a little bit more about adrenals and adrenal health. And that seems to be my theme lately. That's because that is what I am studying in my classes in nutritional endocrinology practitioner training. What were we talking about last time? Maybe stress and adrenals. There are so many things that people, come in, they talk to me about, or you hear about, or you read about, you see on social media. There's so many different things that can be tied to the adrenals. Blood sugar is a big one. Which comes first? Does the blood sugar cause the adrenals to go off balance, or does high stress and adrenal imbalance cause high blood sugar? Both could happen. And so a lot of times it's confusing about which part we need to look at when we're looking at the body. One thing could be digestion. If you are constipated, have slow bowels, lots of bloating, things just don't feel like they're moving along, a lot of times that could be stress, but it could go the other way too. You're eating inflammatory foods that are not right for your digestion, things like that, then that is going to add stress to the body, which increases cortisol. The same with the immune system. If you have underlying infections, Lyme infection, EBV infection, one of those, that inflammation, any inflammation in the body is going to cause our cortisol to go up, which is going to affect the adrenals. And so we want to make sure we're looking at all sorts of things and not rule out the adrenals. There could be heart conditions, high blood pressure, that could be one. Talked about blood sugar, it could be slow thyroid. When we are under a lot of stress, then the body does slow down the conversion of T3 to T4. The cells start to try to protect themselves. They increase the cholesterol. And so the other way around, high cholesterol can then cause inflammation, which can cause adrenal imbalance. And so there's a back and forth thing going on today. So what all can be affected by long-term stress? Mental and emotional stress can affect you. Our adrenals were made to keep us safe in physical situations so we could fight or flight. The first thing that happens when you are alerted, the first thing that happens is epinephrine is released, and norepinephrine. And so those are supposed to help us, fight and get away. But when it's extended over a short period of time, all of a sudden cortisol has had time to kick in, and then the cortisol takes over. But we're supposed to be able to just fight and get away, escape, and then recover. But what's happening is we're not, and we're mostly in mental and emotional stressors now. Unless you're doing extreme exercise, very heavy training and things like that. Now that can add a lot of stress to your body too. Our body wasn't made to run and train that hard for extended periods. We need to take breaks and relax and rest. Rest and repair. That is when the repair occurs. That's when muscles are repaired and damage is, like when you work out, you are actually, you're trying to build this bicep, you're lifting weights, you're making tiny tears in the muscle. Well, if you work out again the next day, those tiny tears didn't get to repair. And so we have to rest, at least alternate days so that those muscles can repair, and then they get a little bit bigger, and then they get torn again, and then they get a little bit bigger. And so that we need that downtime in everything. That's why we need to sleep. But digestive stress from eating harmful foods that are not right for you, inflammation or underlying infections, obesity, that puts a lot of strain on the body. Blood sugar swings, if you're eating added sugars, if you're eating processed foods, if you're eating pasta, we don't think about pasta and bread as being, those are sugar. They are highly processed foods, and your body sees those as sugar. And gluten-free breads are even worse. So, people say, but I'm eating healthier. I'm eating the gluten-free muffins, or I found these gluten-free bagels. That is just sugar. It's just sugar in a bread form. So we need to watch out for things like that. Nutrient imbalance. If we're not getting in all of the nutrients we need in a day, we're not getting the nutrients needed to help with all the different pathways in our body and things like that. So if you are, I have a lot of clients that come to me, they eat fast food every day. Maybe they have, it could be frozen or fast food, a sausage biscuit for breakfast. They may have a fast food salad for lunch. And then dinner is a pizza or fried chicken or pasta. And so we can see we're lacking so many nutrients in there. We need lots of greens, the rainbow foods. That's why we have the rainbow challenge. And so we need all of those different nutrients for all the different parts of our body. Our body breaks everything down, recycles it, and reuses it to create new cells and to help with our body processes. And so we need to work on managing stress. And I wanted to talk about, I have a little chart here that I can look at, what we can do to get the adrenals under control, to help with blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar, digestion, the immune system, and with the thyroid. First, we have to manage stress. What is causing all of the stressors? Is it toxins? Is it environmental toxins? Is it food toxins? Is it work-related stress? Maybe you do need to switch jobs. Maybe you need to find another outlet, some kind of joy. Maybe not work so many hours, find ways to work around that. Maybe you need to end a relationship. And those are really hard decisions, but sometimes those are the problems too. And then we need to work on blood sugar balance. If your blood sugar is not in balance, then your adrenals will never be in balance, because the blood sugar keeps the insulin out, keeps cortisol going. And so we have to repair all of that. Increases inflammation. It's never ending. How do you know if you have an adrenal imbalance? Do you have any trouble falling asleep at night? Do you feel like you're under a lot of stress? Do you feel an overwhelm? Sometimes I do. I easily get my adrenals out of whack. And I really think that's probably what's underlying a lot of my thyroid condition. Do you gain weight under stress? Do you wake up really tired even after you had like 6 or more hours of sleep? Do you sweat all the time? Are you tired but wired? You can go, even though you're feeling exhausted. That could be if you have hyperadrenals. Now, what if you have low adrenals? Low energy, just don't feel like you can do anything today. Frequent colds or illnesses. You can't recover from exercise. You work out and then it takes days for you to recover. Dark circles under the eyes. Ligament and tendon laxicity. I thought this is very interesting, because I remember many, many years ago, probably 30 to 40 years ago, I remember running up some stairs and my kneecap just felt like it slipped in there. And I was like, what in the world? And I've noticed, I'll twist my ankle, I get really stressed. And then I start having these minor injuries where I'll twist my ankle or hurt something. And that is a sign. Cold intolerance, just cannot get warm enough. Craving salt, that's a huge one. The adrenals help with electrolyte balance. And so if you are craving salt, there's a good chance you have low adrenals. Low blood pressure upon rising. Do you ever get up really fast and all of a sudden you feel really dizzy? That can be a sign of low adrenals. Thin, dry, dull hair. No hair on your arms or legs, or patches of bald spots on your arms and legs. And light sensitivity, just cannot stand to have the light in the morning, or you can't go outside without sunglasses, and really dry skin. So those are all signs of low adrenals. And so what happens when our adrenals are out of balance? Usually the sex hormones are out of balance too. It's the same cholesterol is converted into pregnenolone, which is a hormone that is then converted to either cortisol or to DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. And so what happens is, If we're under a lot of stress, we're not getting the hormones we need to those other hormones. And so we start seeing those hormones get out of balance, and eventually they get really low. And then what happens? Usually the cholesterol starts to go up. So a lot of times if you see that cholesterol is going up, but sex hormones are going down, then that can be a sign that something is going on in that pathway. And one of the keys is vitamin B5. So don't go out and randomly take vitamin B5, but you can go and have blood work done and see, is your cholesterol up and those sex hormones low? That is something that you'll want to look at and have checked. Now, vitamin B5 is a safe vitamin to take. I'm just not licensed to suggest people take vitamin B5, but most of us do need some B vitamins. And you can look at foods that are high in vitamin B5. It's in most foods, actually. But you want to eat nutrient-dense foods, green smoothies, large green salads, cruciferous vegetables. Find some that you like: broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, any in that family. Those are wonderful. They're very, very high in vitamins and minerals. Beans are very high in B vitamins. So looking at things like that. So other things you can look at if you are wondering if you have adrenal issues. And one that I found interesting is if you have rib margin tenderness. If you touch underneath your ribs here, is it really sore on the sides there? Do you have dark gray or dark red on the back of your tongue? Do you have frequent canker sores? Do you have rough red cuticles, on your fingernails? Those can all be signs as well. So then how do you know if it's your thyroid or your adrenals? Well, one thing can be body temperature. A lot of doctors do like for people to take their temperature first thing in the morning before you even get up out of the bed. While you're still laying still, see what your temperature is. Is it lower than normal? Do you usually have a low temperature? That's usually thyroid. But if could be low or high, then that could be adrenals. If your energy is generally sluggish all the time, that's probably low thyroid. But if you're wired, but you're just exhausted, that's probably adrenals. If you have really a lot of trouble losing fat, you just cannot lose fat, then that's usually hypothyroid. And if you have difficulty gaining muscle, you're working out all the time and you just can't gain muscle, that's probably hypoadrenal. You're missing testosterone because it's going towards cortisol, or maybe you're missing that vitamin. Blood pressure, if your blood pressure is normal to high, that could be hypothyroid, or if it's usually low, that's hypoadrenal. If you have high cholesterol, that's usually related to hypothyroid. If you have low cholesterol, that's usually hypoadrenal. If your face is red, tends to be red, that is normally hypothyroid. And if it's pale, that's usually related to the adrenals. And then if you have sluggish bowels or frequently constipated, that's usually related to the thyroid. If you have IBS or hyperfunctioning, that's usually related to the adrenals. Now, with the sluggish, that is usually hypothyroid, and the frequent could be hyperthyroid, or it could be adrenals, or both. They're so closely connected. There was another chart I wanted to look at, but I don't see it with me right now. So some of the key players are getting sleep, taking rests and breaks throughout the day, pausing before your meals. One of the best ways to get more nutrition is to rest before you eat. Make sure your body knows, hey, I am safe. Because if your body thinks that you're in danger, remember, digestion is going to be slow. You're not going to be able to absorb those foods. So even just putting your hands on your chest and taking a few deep breaths, saying a blessing or prayer before you eat, telling your body that you're safe, and relaxing, and enjoy your meal. Chew, 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 so you can absorb all those nutrients, all the vitamins and minerals that are needed for all of your different pathways. That is going to be a key. Next is blood sugar balance, making sure that you're eating foods that are and lower on the glycemic index. If you do tend to have blood sugar problems, that's something that is very important for you. Some people can do some food combining, but focusing on nutrition is key. Lots of greens. I'd like for my clients to have greens 3 times a day, which sounds crazy, but once you start doing it, it's like you miss your greens if you don't have them. We need all of those minerals, all those vitamins, and they don't have to be a salad. You don't have to eat a salad 3 times a day. Let's put some greens in a smoothie, have a large salad or soup for lunch, and then have some sauteed greens. You know, I had my black-eyed peas and collards. I don't know if you saw my reel the other day, but how quick and easy was that? Just grab them from the freezer and add some water. Anyway, I think that's very important also to help with the adrenals. So I don't think I've seen any questions pop up. I have a couple of messages. Let me just make sure none are for this. I don't see any. Thank you for joining me today, and y'all have a fabulous week.